All right, y'all. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Shalom is Michael Israel, and you are watching Spiritual Combat. And you know what I'm getting ready to say. We got a great show for you this morning. Okay, doing this one in the morning, and I'll be honest. I'm gonna be putting out a lot more videos. Meant to do some earlier this week, but um, regardless, this is going to be a good video. What we're talking about is righteousness under fire, standing strong when temptation hits. Okay, and this is a big one. Um, if you follow me for any length of time, you know this is something I really harp on because it is a major thing. And what we're going to be talking about is when life turns up the heat and temptation calls, what will you do? So, what we're going to be doing, we're going to be exploring and talking about how to stay true to the word and walk in righteousness even when the pressure's on. And anytime you hear that word pressure, think of emotion because when you're going through a difficult situation, it's emotional. Like your thoughts is running, and you could feel tension in your chest and all that stuff like that. And y'all, I'm trying to tell you, this is something I try to plead with the saints here in our assembly, is that as uncomfortable as that feels, and everything in your physical is telling you get out of this situation, uh do whatever you need to do to eliminate this uncomfortable feeling or whatever. You need to There is a way to conduct yourself when you're in these types of situations, and it's counterintuitive most of the time, though, what your thoughts, feelings, and emotions are saying. You That's why I say courage under fire, calm under pressure. And I try to give all these analogies because it's so counterintuitive for people who've been conditioned for years in their mind to have a certain response to uncomfortable situations or things that, you know, but you have to trust in the word. You have to let this word be a guide for you on your path. Okay. Let me know if that makes sense. Let me know in the comments if the audio is good. It looks like it is. Let's get rolling with it. So one of the things I want to define is something you hear me say a lot is biblical masculinity and also biblical femininity. Okay. You hear me talk about that a lot. I want to define it and put my understanding and interpretation on that. And it is being able to stay righteous under pressure, not calm under pressure, righteous under pressure. Nobody said you can't get turned up. Nobody said you can't get angry. There's a time for war. There's a time for peace. There's a time for all these thoughts, feelings, emotions, but it has to be righteously done. Okay. So let's get after it. All right. That would let me go ahead and just back up my definition with a Bible verse y'all have heard me quote many a times, and that is Sirach, otherwise known as Ecclesiasticus, out of the Apocrypha, chapter 2, verse 1. We're going to start with verse 1. We're going to read on through to 7. It says, "My son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation." On jump. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people act like, why is this happening? We getting ready to go into why this happened. You know what I'm saying? But he said, if you come to serve the Lord, if you commit to it, it's not gonna be this thing that the Greco-Roman Catholic Christian beast system teaches. They teach, oh, you're gonna serve Yah, and he's gonna descend from heaven with lollipops and cupcakes, and everything's gonna be good, and it's just gonna be because, hey, because cookies and stuff like that, No, that it ain't that. He gonna, and we're gonna go into why it's not like that in what I'm getting ready to read. So it says, my son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation. Set thy heart aright and constantly endure, and make not haste in times of trouble. Okay? Don't get hasty in times of trouble. Okay? Again, we're going to really get into this because, again, you have to stand strong when temptation hits. You have to be righteous under fire. You can't make haste in times of trouble. It says, cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end. So he's telling you to cleave to Yah, cleave to his ways, cleave to his book. Like you should have you should ingrain an automatic response when some stuff happens. You should automatically be driven to get into your word and to be praying, and sometimes to get off to yourself and just pay attention to what's going on in between your ears. You know what I'm saying? So it says, cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end. Whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a low estate. Y'all, we're going to back all this up scripturally. And this is so crucial in your walk, because I can't tell you the number of times I see people, man, when the pressure's on, the Bible goes out the window. When the pressure's on, you don't hear any scripture coming out of their mouth. It's all thoughts, feelings, and emotions, not anchored in the word. Okay? For gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. This is how Yah develops you and grows you and perfects you, is through adversity. Y'all, you are not gonna grow spiritually in peacetime, feeling good. Like, I know people mentally ascend and feel righteous and feel correct on Shabbat when it's praise and worship time. I enjoy doing it too. It feels good and everything like that. But where you truly grow and develop is in adversity, because then it's forcing you to go directly against that carnal nature, head on, smashing against that carnal nature, because that carnal nature stands up in you, them thoughts, feelings, emotions, and impulses, and it's yelling loud. And you have to make a conscious decision to say, I'm going to listen to this word. I'm not going to be led by my carnal nature. I'm going to be led by thus saith Yah, not thus saith me. And this is where being led by the Spirit truly comes in. Okay? Believe in him and he will help thee. Order thy way aright and trust in him. Ye that fear the Lord, wait for his mercy and go not aside, lest ye fall. Okay? Believe in him. Know that Yah's way is the way. He's gonna guide your steps aright, and it's all in this word. So we've defined a couple things. Let's see what y'all saying in the comments. Everybody good in the comments? All right, we're good to go there. So let's continue and really get into this lesson. And again, what we're talking about is when you're under pressure, are you righteous under pressure? Okay. So when you're righteous under pressure, or when you're under pressure, do you learn or do you lean to your own understanding? Okay. So when you're under pressure, do you lean to your own understanding? Are you sitting there in an echo chamber of your mind, just looking at you, just watching them thoughts cycle and going with that and just letting it get you more and more stressed out? Or do you, Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5, it says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Again, like I said earlier, a lot of people, they let their minds get in that echo chamber and they're not feeding any word in it. This is the times you should really be in the word, studying the word, countering any thoughts that pop up with Bible verses. Because what? We're going to get into who can sometimes send thoughts into your mind. And let me give you spoiler alert. I'll just tell you now, sometimes it ain't the Most High sending thoughts in your mind. Okay? Spoiler alert. Okay. Can you follow instruction, or do you become unrighteous under pressure? Okay. This is another one. Okay. Can you follow instruction, or do you become unrighteous under pressure? And when we say under pressure, you could substitute that emotional. So can you follow instruction when you become emotional? Okay. All right. 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 23. For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. Because thou hast rejected the word of the Lord, he hath also rejected thee from being king. So that is in Book of Samuel. And one of the things he was doing, he was basically trying to serve the people instead of serving the Most High. And this, if you look at that ties into self-esteem issues, being what do they call it? Outward, seeking outer. What is it? Begins with a D, I think. But you're seeking to get your somebody, if y'all know the word, put it in the comments. But you're seeking to get your meaning and your identity and your that hit of dopamine, that feel good, that acceptance, whatever you want to call it. You're seeking to get that externally from people. So you're concerned of what people think. And this is something that will cause you to go against what the word says, because the word is about you serving Yah. And a lot of times, like the Bible scripture say, he that rebuketh in the gate is hated. People, you ain't going to be liked. Okay? But it's going back. Can you follow instruction? It says, I wrote, can you follow instruction, or do you become unrighteous under pressure? When your emotions are telling you to do something else, but you've been given instruction, can you follow that instruction under pressure? Under the emotional pressure of temptation, thoughts, feelings, emotions. Okay, this is why there's a lot of military analogies in the word. The way the military trains you up, it's just like the word is trying to train you up. It puts you in affliction. It puts you in adversity. That's what happens in basic training. They're yelling at you. They're waking you up early. They're punishing you if you don't do what they said. And you are under duress, distress, affliction, you name it. And they train you up. And by the end of basic training, it was like, I remember when I came home from basic training, and for years, I didn't know what it was, what had happened, but I knew it was good. But I came back home from basic training, and anything I saw I needed to do, I could just do it. And there was almost no resistance from my mind and my body, because I had been conditioned to die to self. For the military, though, but now we need to do this in a biblical, from a biblical standpoint. And this is what Yah does when he puts us in these situations of adversity. If that makes sense, put a 100 in the comments, please. Okay. So can you follow instruction? Okay. And it says, rebellion is as a sin of witchcraft. And listen to this. Listen, stubbornness is as idolatry and iniquity, or iniquity and idolatry. Why is it like idolatry? Because you're not serving Yah. You're serving yourself. You're worshiping what thus saith me and I, and you're doing what you want. And you're putting an idol in front of the Most High. Okay. Your thoughts, feelings, emotions, even though it don't line up with book. So are you righteous under pressure? This is the question. Okay. Are you righteous under pressure? When rebuked, do you receive it righteously? Okay. Are you righteous under pressure, according to what this book says? So when you're corrected, because especially us in these assemblies, one of the main purposes of these assemblies is for us to get guided and directed and get all on the same path, the same righteous biblical path. It's gonna require admonishment, correction, rebuke. You know what I'm saying? When rebuked, do you receive it righteously? Sirach, Ecclesiasticus chapter 32, verse 17. A sinful man will not be reproved, but findeth an excuse according to his will. Okay? Not Yah's will, their own will. Again, we get on this path, or we agree to get on this path, and correction and instruction and direction and rebuke and correction and all that stuff has to go forth in order to guide the path, ourselves on the path. Okay. Here's the very next verse on that one. It says, a man that is instructed will not make many excuses, but the stubborn will find a way to justify his error. Again, this is that carnal, fleshly nature that we all have. I can't tell you the number of times, y'all, that I hear people making excuses. I'm like, wow, that was the same excuse my flesh tried to submit to me that I cast down. And you sitting here running with it 100% under pressure, breaking under the spiritual pressure. Okay. We have to overcome that spirit of stubbornness. We know as a nation, when we read through this book, That is the main theme, or one of the main themes through the whole book, is the stubbornness of Israel. Okay? So we're going to read those two verses again. A sinful man will not be reproved, but findeth an excuse according to his will. A man that is instructed will not make many excuses, but the stubborn will find a way to justify his error. Y'all put a 100 up in there if y'all understand these basic scriptures. I don't care what type of, there's no way to misinterpret just basic book. Like I said, if you don't have an understanding of the word, go to Proverbs and Sirach. That is the law, statutes, commandments. That is love broken down into its most granular pieces, to where the only way to misunderstand that is to willingly try to do it. Okay, this is basic book. First Peter chapter 2 verse 18. Okay, and this is, we're still on, when you're rebuked, do you receive it righteously? Okay, First Peter chapter 2 verse 18. I'm going to read on through 22. It says, servants, be subject to your masters with all fear, not only to the good and gentle, but also to the froward. So that's the hard, the difficult. It tells you to be subject to them. With what? With all fear. Not fearing them, fearing Yah. Okay? For this is thankworthy, if a man for conscience towards God endure grief, suffering wrongfully. For what glory is it if, when you're buffeted for your faults, you shall take it patiently? But if when you do well and suffer for it, ye take it patiently, this is acceptable with God. Okay? I'm gonna do something for y'all. I'm gonna get y'all. I want to make sure y'all are getting this, because what it's saying, what that scripture is saying there is, it's not like, it's not a big deal if, when you're corrected for something that you did do, that you take it faithfully. That's what it's saying there is, yeah, that's no big deal. You should do that. But it's on it really is something good when you're buffeted for something you didn't do and you take it righteously, because that's what Christ did. But what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna read it in that version. I'm also read it in another version. Okay, so let me pull up this other version real quick. That'll break it down. I should have put it in there. I'll probably put it in there later, because I'm gonna probably teach this lesson more. Okay, there it is. Okay, now let me see what this one says. It says, slaves, be willing to serve your masters. Do this with all respect. You should obey the masters who are good and kind, and you should obey the masters who are bad. One of you might have to suffer even when you have done nothing wrong. If you think of God and bear the pain, this pleases God. But if you are punished for doing wrong, there is no reason to praise you for bearing the punishment. But if you suffer for doing good and you are patient, this pleases God. This is what you were chosen to do. Christ gave you an example to follow. He suffered for you, so you should do the same as he did. Okay, I think a better version to read is going to be the Amplified. So let me find that real quick. Okay, let me see if that's here. There it is. Okay, so let's read it in the Amplified. It says, servants, be submissive to your masters with all proper respect, not only to those who are good and kind, but also to those who are unreasonable. For this finds favor if a person endures the sorrow of suffering unjustly because of an awareness of the will of God. After all, what kind of credit is there if when you do wrong and are punished for it, you endure it patiently? Like, what type of credit is there for that? But if when you do what is right and patiently bear undeserved suffering, this finds favor with Yah. Christ is our example. For as a believer, you have been called for this purpose, since Christ suffered for you, leaving you an example so that you may follow in his footsteps. He committed no sin, nor was deceit ever found in his mouth, and he suffered wrongfully for it. Okay? So, I mean, that's real basic there. Okay. That's First Peter chapter 2, verse 18. I read through 22. I recommend you read it in its context and read it through and through. What it says here, verse 22, it says, he committed no sin, nor was deceit ever found in his mouth. Now, y'all, all of us, oh yeah, there's plenty of sin, but you know, people will not receive correction on stuff. Okay, so look, let's continue moving forward. And again, that was when rebuked, do you receive it righteously? Okay, are you, so we're gonna go to the next one, are you righteous under pressure when you're given instructions? Okay. Now I put can we, because y'all might, this is when you're given instructions. So this is a little different than the one we did before. Okay. So we're going to read Hebrews chapter 13, verse 17. Obey them that have the rule over you and submit yourselves, for they watch for your souls, as they that must give account. And they may do it with joy and not with grief, for that is unprofitable for you. Okay, so it's not so much for them, it's for you, it's for your spiritual development. And look, I'm gonna tell you, man, like I said, I've been a head of assembly here for a while, and I've dealt with a lot of situations over the years, and I have watched this over and over again. People get they get under that pressure and they get out from the word, and they're just kind of being led by how they feel. And it's literally like a process. And if they don't break it, it breaks them. You know what I'm saying? And we can't let Satan deceive us through our thoughts, feelings, emotions. These are the times where you have to truly obey those who have the rule over you like never before when you are in these types of situations. Okay. Are you righteous under pressure or emotion? Remember, we talk about when we say being righteous under pressure, are you righteous under pressure when watching for Satan in you and around you? Are you vigilant? Are you watchful? Okay. And are you righteous under pressure, especially when you're in a charged situation? First Peter chapter 5, verse 8, it says, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. Okay? He is watching. Okay? He's like a lion stalking prey. It's just sitting there in the bushes and it's just watching. And what is it watching? What is it looking for? It's looking for that one animal that kind of is slipping, for lack of a better word. It's weak. He's looking for the most vulnerable animal to jump on. Whether it's a baby animal, whether it's a weak animal, whether it's an animal that's separated from the pack. You see the spiritual connotations in this, where the lion sitting there looking at an animal that is baby in its understanding, spiritual understanding, is looking for an animal that's maimed or sick or weak in an area of the spiritual understanding, is looking for an animal that has separated itself from the pack, or a saint that has separated himself from the pack, so that it could jump on them and attack them. It ain't gonna jump on that big old muscle ox that's sitting there like this on full alert. He ain't messing with him. He gonna try to use that weaker animal, okay, and get it, okay, and attacking that animal. What does that look like? Like, how does that spiritually? Satan gets in there, starts submitting thoughts to you. That's the teeth trying to go in. And if you don't run, if you don't fight, and what is that analogy? Running and fighting, quoting that word back. But if you ain't got no word in you, and you're not defaulting to the word, and you're not around the saints, you're not getting the deliverance and all that stuff, he gonna start submitting them thoughts. He gonna get you. Y'all, this basic book. Put a 100 up in there if y'all get this. Are you righteous under pressure when corrected? All right, we talked about rebuke, but what we're saying here is, do you desire correction? I desire correction. I'm here to grow and to get perfected. I'm not here to look good in the eyes of man and to impress people and try to cater to people. If that's why you come into faith, because you want to make everybody like you or something like that, or be on good terms with people, that's not how it works. Like, if you want to, with men, if you want to get married and you want to keep your wife happy, that's not how it works. When you become married, you have to lead, and you're not going to lead and be on good terms with people all the time. It don't work that way. You have to be being a man is being assertive. Being biblically, like, if you're a man and you obey this word, you are going to develop masculine qualities, because you're going to have to assert yourself. There's just a lot of stuff you're going to have to do. Out in this world, they want you to be this effeminate, tiptoe through the tulips. Oh, I don't want to put no ripples in the water type of girly man out here. That ain't book. No. Now that's the Greco-Roman beast system and Christianity and Catholicism. Like, that's what that is. They push all that sugar cookie stuff out there because they're directly in line with the society out there. But when you read this book for what it is, it ain't that. Okay. So, are you righteous under pressure when corrected? Do you desire correction? Proverbs chapter 12:1. Whoso love instruction loveth knowledge, but he that hateth reproof is brutish. That means dumb. Okay? Are you prideful or humble? James chapter 4, verse 6. God resisteth the proud, but give grace unto the humble. There's a lot of times you need to let Yah humiliate you, because pride blocks any type of spiritual growth. It's a brick wall. Okay. Okay. And yeah, when you're under pressure and you got pride, you ain't gonna hear the Holy Spirit. All you're gonna hear is that pride. Defend my pride. They can't look at me like this. You gotta be humble. The loudest voice in your mind is gonna be pride, and it's gonna have its teeth sunk into you. You gotta deal with that. You gotta let Yah humiliate you. Some of y'all, man, you literally gotta go and say stuff out of your mouth to, and feel that. Go through that feeling of humiliation. A lot of people, they operate in pride and fear. The pride and the fear says, look, if I get humiliated, I'm fearful of what that's going to feel like. So let me stay in pride. That's the mechanism. And guess what all that's tied to? And that's another video I got coming up. It's all tied to a spirit of rejection. And that whole mechanism, that's one of Satan's main tools to keep people stubborn, stiff-necked, to have them crumbling under the pressure and not staying righteous under pressure. So are you righteous under pressure? Okay. And that brings us right to the next one. Are you righteous under pressure when it comes to controlling your emotions? Okay. And let me be very clear, because I know some people, they kind of misunderstand where I'm coming from. So I'm gonna make a conscious effort on a regular basis when I talk about emotions to bring this up. I didn't say don't be emotional. Okay. If I did, let me clarify this. Okay. I'm not saying walk around like Arnold Schwarzenegger in Terminator. Yes, I did that. Blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying do that. Okay. What I'm saying is have righteous emotions. There's a righteous indignation. The Bible says, be angry, but sin not. Well, what would sinning be? Taking that anger and doing something that doesn't line up with the word, that the word hasn't told you to do with it, or that the word tells you not to do with it. Okay. There's a time to be angry and put hands on people. If somebody comes and messes with your family, you better let that anger rip, and you let it turn physical on somebody to protect your family. So we could go all through this. You have to have the emotions righteously. That's why the title of this video is, Are You Righteous Under Pressure? Or that's why the main topic of this video is, Are You Righteous Under Pressure? Okay. So are you righteous under pressure when it comes to controlling your emotions? 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 5, it says, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. And listen to this, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ. You got to bring your thoughts into captivity and have them in alignment, in obedience with the book, with Christ. Okay. So you literally need to be vigilant. You need to be paying attention. You need to be watching your thoughts. You need to be aware of what's popping up in your mind. And Where is it coming from? And is it in alignment with the word? But if you ain't been filling yourself with the word, if you ain't been putting the word in your mind, and you just been, it's called ruminating, where you got the same thoughts rotating through your head. Look the definition of it. It's called rumination. And you just letting them thoughts like a record or a broken record keep repeating, and you don't do something to stop that record from playing over. What do? Study the word, get in the word, pray, fast, seek the Lord. I see a lot of people, they be going through a stressful situation. There's no prayer. You don't see them fasting. You don't see them seeking the Lord. They just talking to themselves, and then they start talking to other people. And they never deal with that stuff that's in between their ears. Okay? So are you righteous under pressure when it comes to controlling your thoughts? 2 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 5 says, examine yourselves whether ye be in the faith. Prove your own selves. Okay? Know ye not your own selves, how that Jesus Christ is in you, except ye be reprobate. So you gotta examine yourselves. Y'all, when you this is how I know, man, you can see the people who get this, because y'all, and you can see the people who get this and the people who don't. The people who are full of pride, they're looking at everything else, and everything else is an issue. The people who are able to look at themselves, see how jacked up they are, and they know there ain't enough time to be worrying about all this other stuff, that they got to get locked into themselves. You know, I had a conversation with Coy the other night. She was just talking about how she got to take time with herself and just study the word, get closer to God. That's all of us, because I'm telling you, life, people, places, things, Satan will try to have you out here all over the place, spread you thin, so you could be that weak animal that he picks off. And what does he use? He uses people. We're going to get into that. Don't make me your enemy because I tell you the truth. All right. Are you righteous under pressure when it comes to submitting and respecting your leaders and those that serve? This is a big one. Check this out. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 12. And we beseech you, brethren, to know them that labor among you and are over you in the Lord, and admonish you, and to esteem them very highly in love for their works' sake. Man, I can't tell. Look, being a head of assembly, I got to keep saying this, over the last 5 years, man, that is not, with a lot of people, and these are people who've left, but a lot of people, they see what you got going on. They see you trying to work with the saint. They have no regard for it, no respect for you, no esteem. They come and bring problems, and there's just no honor there with a lot of people, but they don't last long. There's no empathy. They never take the time to think, man, this dude is leading these people. He sacrificed all these other brothers that labor in this thing. They've been doing it for years, this, that, and the other. Like I was saying on Ask the Pastor, said he's been doing this 35 years. And every year I have more and more esteem and honor for pastor and other leaders who have been doing this for these years, and the things they got to deal. And everything I've dealt with so far, they got it. If I go to them, they're like, oh yeah, that one, seen, been there, done that. Got the T-shirt, wore it, and got the hat. Are you righteous under pressure when it comes to submitting and respecting your leaders and those that serve? Let's read that again. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 12. And I beseech you, brethren, to know them which labor among you and are over you in the Lord and admonish you, and to esteem them very high in love for their work's sake. And again, you gotta, like, I know coming in, when I first saw Straightway, I esteemed them because I knew what they were doing. I knew the Most High had led me there. You know what I'm saying? And I immediately knew I wasn't doing it. But you get a lot of people come in here, they ain't done nothing, but they are so good at mentally ascending in their mind. They have a high, lofty opinion of themselves, and with that, they have trouble esteeming them very high in love for their leaders, in love for their work's sake and what they do. Okay. Here we go again. 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 15. I beseech you, brethren, that ye submit yourselves unto such, and to everyone that helpeth with us and laboreth. So in 1 Corinthians, read it in the context, he's telling them, you need to submit yourself to these people who are laboring to bring this thing together. Like, have some honor there, okay? Yeah. So all this stuff ties into the same thing. You know, like I said, that having that courage or under pressure, you know, not being righteous when you're in the fire, you know, the furnace of adversity. You know, this is what it's about on the most basic level, this basic book, you know. It's like, and I sit here in this foundational area teaching because I watch a lot of people, man, they've built their whole faith, their whole walk on faulty foundations. They don't have this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And what they're doing, they're setting themselves up for failure, you know, and we got to do the basics. I talk about in the past. I was at the gym, and you know, we used to play ball all the time. One of the biggest days, and this is before I came into the truth and all that. But one of the biggest days when the most people would be out there was on Saturday. And man, you wanted to get on that court and the gym I played at, it was very competitive. We had a lot of Division I and pro players who would come to the gym. But one day, a dude came to the gym who played in the NBA. I'd never played against anybody who played in the NBA to that point. I played with people who played pro ball overseas, but man, so this dude was like, hey, who you think the best one in this gym is? And, you know, I'd never seen this one dude. I was like, I don't know. You know, I named this one dude. He had played semi-pro ball overseas. He like 6'8", 6'7", or something like that. He's pretty good. And he was like, no, that dude over there. And he pointed at this dude. And this dude had played pro ball. And so I started, once he pointed him, I started watching him. I watched this dude get warmed up. This dude hit 20 3-point shots way beyond the 3-point line. Like he must have been like 6 feet behind the 3-point line. He was hitting these 3-point shots, and the net was moving the exact same way every time it hit. I was like, what the heck? So we played with the dude. He went out there. The team this dude had was like a pathetic team. Even on low standards. The team this dude had was not good. It was all the people, because what we do when we would pick our teams and set our teams up, there's a list, but it's a lot of politics. It's mostly trying to stack their team. When they seen this dude was there from the NBA, everybody was trying to build their team strong. So we had a great team. Man, we played against this dude. They won. And this dude was like on another level, but this is the point I'm making. He played in the NBA, but all his moves, like I was thinking his moves were going to be all these flashy moves. Y'all, all his moves was so basic, it was mind blowing. Even the way he would go after a ball, that like a loose ball, and he would, all the loose balls, if he was near there, he would always come up with it. He didn't miss any shots. For the game-winning shot, and like in this game, it was, Muggs really wanted to win, so there was a lot of pressure on. Game-winning shot, some little scrub dude was running down the court after he had got the rebound. The NBA dude had got the rebound, and this scrub was running down court. Man, this dude passed it to him, and it landed right where the dude could do an easy layup. I mean, it was crazy. But my point is, this dude had mastered the basics. His dribbling, he didn't do any fancy dribbling, nothing. He had mastered the basics. And that's how we need to be in this faith. We need to master the basics. Y'all, I'm Michael Israel. You're watching Spiritual Combat. Appreciate y'all tuning in, and shalom, shalom.